Hey everyone, I'm Alyssa Roenigk, live at the CLIF Snow Party Studio here at the Burton US Open in Vail, Colorado. Sitting to my right, we are incredibly excited to have Burton CEO Donna Carpenter. Donna, thank you for taking the time.
Happy to be here.
Thank you for taking the time to be here. And before we spend some time getting to know Donna more, for those of you who are not familiar with the CLIF Snow Party, it's an initiative between CLIF and Protect Our Winners, which is a nonprofit organization a lot of you might know better as POW. And here at the Burton US Open, we are engaging people in the conversation around climate change, and we are enlisting folks to both tell us their stories about how they interact with their environment, how they're trying to better themselves in the fight against climate change, and also if you would like more information, or like to join the Snow Party, snowparty.com. So everyone else I've been asking, how's your open going? This is your event, right? This is your biggest event of the year. 37th year?
This is my 37th year at the Open, yep.
So tell me how's it been going this year? What is different this year from those 36 years previously?
It just keeps growing. Vail is a great place to have it because I think it really showcases the best of the sport as well as the best of the lifestyle. It's a lot of fun. The riders are having a lot of fun. The riders tell me it's their favorite event because they really get to have an influence on how it's run and how it turns out. So it's couldn't be better. I think it's really the pinnacle of snowboarding events.
So, you said something interesting that a lot of the riders have said, this is the one, this event.
This is their favorite.
Even though it's one of the biggest events of the year, it feels less stressful. They have a lot of fun. It's something they really look forward to. As the years have gone on, why has that been something that's been important to you guys, to not just run a great contest, but to have the riders involved in creating every element of this event?
We learned that lesson the hard way a long time ago, Alyssa, when we weren't listening to the riders back in the 80s. And we were kind of going in the racing direction, and the riders were taking it in a freestyle direction. Mm-hmm. Craig Kelly, those riders. And we kind of missed the boat. And we said, we will never let that happen to us again. And the reason we won't is because we listen to the riders and we say, what formats do you have? How should it change? How should it be different? We have it during the day. We're not, television is great, but we're not beholden to a night television contract, for example. So the riders really get to have a say in how it's run and how each event comes off.
And 37 years in, are you at a point now where you say, we know how to put on an event, or is it still something that's evolving?
Oh, I think it's still evolving and still changing, and you still have great ideas. And like I said, it's about showcasing the lifestyle as much as anything else, and how much fun and the music and the parties.
So obviously your role at Burton has changed and evolved over the years. Can you tell me a little bit about your role now as CEO and some of the projects you oversee, and also how your role has changed here at the Open specifically?
Yeah, I never anticipated being CEO of the company, but I think I've been very involved in international, so I've really developed our international business over the years. Sustainability has been near and dear to my heart. Gender equity has been near and dear to my heart. And those are actually stories that people want to hear now. So it's kind of things that we've been doing all along, and I realized, hey, we need to pull the curtain back and show people what we're really doing.
Was there a point when you felt all of those things felt a little counterculture to what was going on in business, and now it's a much more welcomed conversation?
Yeah, that's right. I mean, for example, if you take sustainability, we have always cared more about the long-term sustainability of the sport. Having competitions like the US Open, supporting the athletes the way that we do, working with the resorts for Learn to Ride programs, everything we do to get kids and women. So we've always been concerned about the long-term health of the sport. 20 years ago, that wasn't climate change. Nobody was talking about climate change. So there came a moment where I realized, hey, if we really care about the long-term health of this sport, we better be talking about climate change and doing everything that we can do.
Right. And so that's a great segue into asking about some of the things you guys are doing, because I know you head up a lot of sustainability programs. We had Kelly Clark on earlier, and she talked to us a lot about the initiatives she's been a part of course, her new board. one of the most sustainable boards ever made. What are some of the other initiatives that you guys have at Burton, in the U.S. and around the world?
Yeah, well, we really look at it two ways. Number one is the chemicals that are in your product. And we never wanted to be seen as greenwashing because we make a petroleum-based product with chemicals. But about 7 or 8 years ago, I was, exposed to Blue Sign, which is the standard out of Switzerland, that everybody has the goal to be 100% Blue Sign in their soft goods. And so now we know that we're further along than any other company. We're at 86% of all of our soft goods are Blue Sign.
Can you explain for those of us who
Yeah,
don't know
that
the
means
term Blue
they
Sign?
were made with safe chemicals. They have the safest chemical list in the world, and the factory has to use water in a very efficient way. So it's actually a standard that we can say this is Blue Sign fabric, or this is actually a Blue Sign product that was made in a Blue Sign approved factory. Every brand from Nike to North Face to Columbia to Burton has a goal to get to 100%. We're at 86%. We're way ahead of everybody else. Then the second part is human rights in the supply chain, making sure that where every snap, every zipper, every cord, every shoelace is made, and that they're meeting the highest human rights standards.
And how have you seen, since you've implemented those programs, how have you seen both the impact they've had on the company, but also on the culture, maybe even the people that you're attracting as employees at Burton?
Yeah, it was a bit hard in the beginning because it is more expensive. It's more expensive to do things right. But I knew it would pay off for us in the long term. And I think it makes people proud to work at Burton. And they feel proud of what they're doing. And they're making a product that they can feel proud of, not just the functionality. I mean, that's the goal, really, is to have the most functional product, but to know that you made it safely.
Right. So I want to take a moment and encourage everyone who's watching, whether it's on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, send us in your questions for Donna, ask her questions on the snow, off the snow, anything you'd like to know within reason. And
I always say I don't talk about my driving record or my sex life. Those are the two things off the table.
Those are the only two things that are off the table with Donna Carpenter. Get us some questions. We'll ask those to her at the end of the segment. So something else you want to do to get to know you a little better. We've been playing this fun game with everyone since we're in Colorado. It's a big fishing state. We have our ice fishing. What do you call this little circle that you cut in ice fishing? Like, I know there's a technical name for that, but clearly not an ice fisher woman.
No.
So have you go in there and sort of like get it to stick to one of the magnets, and then you pull out a question.
If I can do it.
If it comes down to it, you can just do it, old-fashioned style and just catch fish by hand. All right, let's see. Ooh. Do you have a nickname?
Oh, I do have a nickname that's related to my driving record. It's called Donica.
Donica.
I would really love to be Danica Patrick. That would be my my second life. I want to come back as a race car driver. So my nickname is Donica. I tend to drive too fast.
Anointed you this
My
nickname?
husband and my friends.
Are people terrified to get in the car with you? Or
no, not if they enjoy a good fast ride.
All right, let's see. I'm going to grab one for you. Oh. So I know I've seen you have some fabulous travels the last couple of months. I know you're over in Europe. You and Kelly Clark were over there doing some really cool events. This fish would like to know, what is your favorite place in the world to snowboard?
Wow, that's hard. I mean, can I do it by continent? I mean, Vail is one of my favorite places. And when my kids are all in their 20s now, but we came here every year for their winter vacation. So I really have to say Vail is one of my all-time favorite. Plus Vermont. Yeah, it's hard.
What if we take you to Europe?
Yeah, I would say the Aalborg. St. Anton.
Oh, okay. Let's just keep going. We'll take you to
Japan. Japan's kind of the holy grail for snowboarders.
Where's your favorite place in Japan? Niseko.
Northern Japan, yeah.
Okay. All right, we're going to grab one more. I'm just going to go ahead and do the old school fish by hand. Oh, you know, this is something we've been asking the riders, but I am actually really interested to know from you. Who taught you how to snowboard?
Oh, Jake did.
He did.
Yeah, and I mentioned the word divorce a lot.
Learning the first week, learning to snowboard is, I think anyone watching knows.
And you know what?
Never allow your significant other to teach you.
Never, ever allow your significant other to do it. And it was tough equipment. I mean, there weren't edges. There still was a rope on the end. We had straps for our feet. And it was a little frustrating. But you know what?
But all these years later, you're still married, so we know how the story turned out.
And I do remember he's the one who also really pushed me to learn how to backcountry snowboard, especially in the woods. And I'd end up in tree wells crying, and it was terrible. And I'll never forget, I was in Whistler about 10 years ago, and it was a powder day, and I went with all these people through the trees. And I remember calling Jake and saying, thank you for not giving up on me and for teaching me. So, yeah.
Yeah, and for encouraging me to go to this,
you know,
the unknown.
And back then there were no instructors. You couldn't hire an instructor to teach you. So you kind of counted on your friends and family to teach you.
Yeah, that's really cool. I'm glad we pulled that fish question out of there. So again, I want to encourage everyone who's watching, whether it's on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, to send some questions. And also remind you that we are here live at the Burton US Open, right at the base of the slopestyle course. And we are in the CLIF Snow Party studio. Say that 5 times fast.
Yeah, well, thank you, CLIF, for doing what they're doing.
Absolutely.
And for supporting PAL this way.
For those of you who aren't familiar with the Snow Party, it's a partnership between Protect Our Winners and CLIF. And here on site, we're encouraging people and engaging people in the conversation around climate change. If you'd like more information, more education, go to snowparty.com. And so I'd love to know, you know, obviously at Burton, you guys are doing a lot of things to be a more sustainable company, to really engage in the conversation around climate change. But what about just as a human and as an individual? What are some of the things that you try to do in your life, or maybe that you're even working on currently, to better engage with the environment and be a climate change warrior?
Yeah, you know, for me, I think it's generational. I have 3 sons who give me a hard time if I'm not recycling, and if I'm, like you said, if I'm not taking responsibility as an individual. My latest is I love sparkling water, and I drink sparkling water from plastic. So I just bought one of those machines.
Yeah.
So that's a big step for me.
That is a huge step. And you know, we've been asking everyone, we've been calling this the climate change confessional.
Yeah, that's my confessional, sparkling water in bottles.
And there's so many things that, you know, we don't think about because, you know, we're told to, you know, use a mug and carry around our water bottles. But there's a lot of things that we do that we don't even think that we're doing that are also contributing to extra waste and, you know, extra emissions. Is there, you know, you mentioned your sons. Is there anything, you know, when we talk about our conversation around climate change, typically we say the reason we're really passionate about this is we want to leave the earth better for the young kids who are going to inherit it from us. Besides just them being harsh on you for recycling, what else have you learned from them, and even just listening to the conversations that they're having around climate change and how different they are probably from how we talk about it and what we knew at their age?
Yeah, oh, completely. And, you know, I think, for example, when we started, we were a little concerned that we would be seen as greenwashing. I think what I've learned from my kids is that they care about transparency. You don't have to be perfect. Nobody's perfect. We all do things that aren't perfect. But if we're honest about it, and we're honest that we're trying about it, I think that that's what I've learned with my kids, that maybe I had this idea that, oh, we can't talk about it until we're doing everything perfectly. Well, that's crazy, right? Or, you know, I hear people criticize the athletes saying, oh, you're flying around, you know, how can you be talking about climate change? And I think that that's just an excuse, and I think people just want transparency, and they really do care that it's bigger than them. You know, even it took us a while to join Protect Our Winners. And I remember it was Jeremy Jones, the founder, who said to me, look, you can green your house all you want. but to really make an impact. And I think we've always underestimated the impact that the snow industry can have.
Right, on
It's
itself.
a huge industry. I mean, outdoor is bigger than pharma, than big pharma. It really is.
That's incredible.
And think of all the powerful, wealthy people who spend their time in Vail and Aspen, you know. So I think that we've underestimated the power that we can have as an industry. And I think, again, I think my sons have helped me see that.
So one of the really neat things you've had the opportunity to do as a partner with POW is to go to Washington, go to Capitol Hill, and sit down face to face with senators and congressmen and women and have this conversation. And I think for a lot of us, sometimes Washington, D.C. can feel very far away, and we can feel like we don't necessarily have a voice there. What has that experience been like for you to go there and be there in person and also see how those conversations have changed over the years?
You know, it's really incredible the impact that the athletes' personal stories or the brands' personal stories about how climate change is impacting us has such an impact on those senators and congresspeople. They want out of their bubble for a little while, and it's a way to connect them with real human beings who are really seeing the changes. You know, you're talking about you know, maybe not being able to have Winter Olympics or training for the Winter Olympics. I mean, I think that these athletes really bring it to a personal, emotional level that really resonates with these senators in a way
Right.
that I never imagined. That, you know, I figured, oh, you go to lobby, whatever. You know, very rarely do you get to see a senator, but when an athlete comes, a gold medalist comes,
Right.
the senator himself or herself is going to show up.
Right.
And it's such a powerful thing that they're fanning out on the athlete, and then the athlete can say, okay, let's talk about climate change and what
Right.
you're doing now.
Well, it's really interesting, right, that they're able to, they sort of open the door for everyone else, right?
Yeah, they
and
really
there's-
do.
in a way that some of us couldn't get a meeting with our congressman man or woman.
No, but companies can't get those meetings. I mean, you
But you
go,
bring your gold medal.
you usually get to see the staff members,
Right.
right? They'll take notes or whatever. You bring your gold medal or world record or whatever, and they really want to hear about the experience and to talk about it. And you're relating to them on such a human level. You're relating to
Right.
them as someone else who loves the mountains.
What's so different from just sitting down and showing them a climate change report or a scientific report that there's maybe a bit of disconnect with, but when you have a human being sitting there from your constituency saying, I can't train in my home state anymore because we don't have snow.
Yeah, there aren't going to be champions coming out of this state anymore.
Right.
And things like that really
That's-
have an impact.
That's
yeah.
that's really interesting. How, over the years that you've been going, how have you seen those conversations? How have they most changed?
They have changed. There are now Republicans talking about the existence of climate change. I mean, seriously, a couple years ago, you would have people, literally, you'd have senators say to you, yes, I believe in climate change, but I can't say it publicly. They would say it to the
Right.
athletes. And now they're saying it publicly. I mean, you saw Mia Love in Utah, you're seeing Lisa Murkowski in Alaska, some of those, you know, Susan Collins in Maine, who are finally talking about climate change and that it's human caused and that we have to do something about it. So the conversation really is changing.
And to know that you've had an impact on
Yeah.
that conversation changing
Yeah.
has to feel, you know, really, really good.
It
Yeah,
does feel
and
really good.
empowering.
And like I said, it's really the athletes who are telling their stories in such a personal, humble way, you know?
So I could do this all day.
Me too.
As you know. But I want to let our audience have the last word. So we've been taking questions. Thank you guys for submitting questions. Let's see, we have Samantha from Instagram wants to know, as you look ahead to 2019, what are you most looking forward to at Burton this year?
Well, I am living in Zurich for the year. So Jake and I moved back to Europe. We spent 5 years there in the 80s getting our European business off the ground. And things are going so well here and in Asia. I really thought You know, we need to go focus on Europe. We talk about the European market, it's 40 different countries.
Yeah.
You know, it's everything from Finland to Spain to Serbia.
And hard to manage from here.
And hard to manage from
US.
here. So I'm spending this year really getting to know each and every one of the markets, and that's what's exciting to me. Everywhere you go, there's a tribe, there's a
Great.
community. Every country you go to, there's a community of snowboarders that make you feel welcome.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
I'll be scheduling my visit.
Yes, yes, please.
Sometime soon. Well, Donna, thank you so much. I know how busy you are
You're so
running this
welcome.
event and everything you
Yeah,
else
and
you have
again, it's
going on.
great. Protect Our Winners is such a great organization. I mean, again, that was started by and for snowboarders with a great vision, and thank you to CLIF Bar for their support.
Yeah, and thank you to all of you for spending some time with us here at the CLIF Studio at the Burton US Open in Vail, Colorado. And again, if you want more information on the Snow Party, want to join the party, join the conversation, please visit snowparty.com.
Join the party.